Hello everybody and welcome back to another not applicable Formula 1 video. I hope you're well and I hope you are ready for the British Grand Prix, some Silverstone action and our first ever sprint qualifying. I'm going to be with you live for all three sessions over the weekend. But before that, I posed a question recently on my community tab as to who is the most popular driver on the grid. I wanted to decide, as I was watching the Austrian Grand Prix, I saw this sea of orange and these Max Verstappen fans that had travelled miles and miles to watch their favourite driver, and I thought, is Max Verstappen actually the most popular driver on the grid? Well, I'd actually like to know who is the most popular driver on the grid, so I decided to find out. So what I've done is I've randomly assorted all 20 drivers into 4 different rounds, and then I've pitted them together. You guys got to vote on the community tab as to which of your favourite of those 5 drivers that were pitted against each other, and then there was a final round. So we're going to find out today who is the most popular and also who is the least popular driver on the Formula 1 2021 grid. And actually, I was very, very surprised by the results. So let's jump straight into it, into round 1, which saw some big hitters involved first time around. As I said, these rounds are done completely randomly, but we had Max Verstappen, George Russell, Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, and Fernando Alonso all in the first one. And I was thinking here, even I'm a little bit sort of 50-50 on this. As a massive McLaren fan, I did have to go for Lando Norris, but George Russell I absolutely love. I think Max Verstappen is electric, and I'm really enjoying watching him this season, and his come up over the past couple of seasons. Sergio Perez is an absolute stalwart of F1 at this point. Like, if you don't love Sergio Perez, I don't know what's wrong with you. I absolutely love the man. And Fernando Alonso, I think, was the one here that stood out to me as maybe an obvious loser. He's quite controversial, is Fernando Alonso. Has lots of sort of history in F1, and lots of people are very divisive on what they think about Fernando Alonso. So it wasn't too much of a surprise to me when I saw these results that Lando Norris came out on top with 41% of the vote. Fernando Alonso only 5% and came in last place. So that means Lando Norris gets through to our winners bracket and Alonso goes through to our losers bracket. And we're going to sort of see if we can get a top 1 and a bottom 1. And then, as you can see from there, Verstappen actually above Russell. I think maybe because my fans, I think generally, the majority of you are based in the UK. I know that people are based here, there, and everywhere. It's absolutely amazing to get to know you guys and get to know where all of you guys are from. But I think the majority of us are from the UK, and therefore I think Russell, I was expecting to maybe get a little bit more, but Max Verstappen, it just shows you how big a following this guy has and how sort of big Red Bull are in terms of Formula 1 at the moment, because Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez getting a good chunk of the vote there with 27 and 11%. And then, as I said, George Russell in 17. Leads us on to round 2. Round 2, again, a few big hitters in here. Vettel, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Giovinazzi and Latifi, and for me it was a really tough pick between Ricciardo and Vettel. I love both of those drivers, both really experienced, both have been around for a long enough time that we sort of get to know them. We know those drivers quite well between them, and Leclerc as well, Leclerc being Mr. Ferrari and Ferrari being such a big brand in F1. Like, I thought that Leclerc might come out on top of this one as well. Like, I thought honestly this could be really, really close between those three. Then Giovinazzi and Latifi, I just don't think they've been around long enough compared to these other three, and also I don't think they're in the teams that really come into the spotlight. Latifi is often in George Russell's shadow, so I don't think he was going to get very many votes. And similar with Giovinazzi, like, lots of people talk about him, but people prefer Kimi Räikkönen, I think. So I wasn't too surprised by this, but it was absolutely, like, this is by far the closest vote that we've had by a mile. Vettel with 39% and Ricciardo with 36%. So Vettel just edging through into the winners bracket. And actually it's Latifi who goes through into the losers bracket out of this one. But I think this one was a bit harsh, to be honest. I don't think Latifi really had much chance when you've got 3 massive hitters in Vettel, Ricciardo and Leclerc. And same with Giovinazzi. I think, unfortunately, they got put in a bracket where there was no chance of them really picking up too many votes along the way. But Vettel moves forward. And I think this is one of those things that kind of shocked me recently, is how Vettel has gone from probably one of the most hated drivers on the grid when he was at Red Bull and just winning everything to maybe the most beloved. And we're going to see today if he is the most beloved driver on the grid. But he's definitely edging towards it and getting himself into that finalists round. Round 3 then. And this one was a bit of a weird one because I think there's an obvious winner in here for me. I'm a massive Gasly fan, and I'm not a huge fan of any of the other drivers there, to be honest with you. Lewis Hamilton, I respect that he is the best driver we're going to see probably of a generation, but Yuki Tsunoda, brand new rookie, don't know too much about him yet. You know, I haven't, apart from watching him in F2 a little bit, haven't been able to pick up much of a, you know, connection with him yet. And then Nikita Mazepin's come in, and Lance Stroll came in a similar sort of way to Mazepin, and they've both been very controversial in the way that they've come into Formula One. So I couldn't imagine them getting many votes either. I even made a video on Mazepin and how it's quite controversial how he's got into F1, and it's a shame really, because there's some drivers in here that, again, I think if they were in a different bracket, maybe they could have sort of, or if somebody else could have been in this bracket, a Latifi was in this bracket, I think Latifi would have picked up lots more votes than he did in the bracket that he was in. But Gasly was an absolute runaway winner by an absolute mile, like 63% of the votes, 1,600 votes on this one. And yeah, Gasly just easily walked through round 3. And it was actually Stroll that got the least votes on this one. It was Stroll that actually managed to go through by the tiniest little margin. Like, Stroll and Mazepin could have really both gone through to the losers bracket, but the winners bracket was easily Gasly from this one. So round 3 went through Gasly, and I can't disagree with that. I absolutely love Gasly, and his story, his trajectory through F1 has been incredible. And, you know, the background that you've got with him and just his general personality, he seems like a wonderful person, and I'd love to meet Gasly. Like, that's definitely bucket list, is, you know, Lando Norris, Gasly for me. They are absolutely immense at this moment in time. Round 4, the final 5 drivers on the grid, and we've got people like Kimi Räikkönen. He's been around forever and is a massive fan favourite. We've got Carlos Sainz, my McLaren boy, the man I wish was still at McLaren because I just absolutely loved him. We've got Mick Schumacher, you know, with that name, has he also got the backing of the fandom? Valtteri Bottas and Ocon there as well. I thought this was a pretty tough round for me as well. Personally, I went for Sainz in this one, just, you know, with that McLaren connection, but could have easily gone Kimi Räikkönen. I think he's incredibly funny and one of those drivers that we will really, really miss when it comes to the grid. Could have gone with Mick Schumacher. I really like Mick being on the grid so far this season. I think he's been, like, you know, basically a mini Vettel, hasn't he? And we've seen how popular Vettel is. So I was sort of a little bit surprised, but not too surprised that Sainz ran away with it. I thought it would be a little bit closer between Sainz and Räikkönen, to be honest with you. And I didn't expect Ocon, but out of these drivers, I didn't really know who to pick, who I thought would be the loser, but it does turn out that Ocon just hasn't really got the fan base, and sort of his season's going from bad to worse here, isn't it? Because he is just losing out, unfortunately, not only on the track every single weekend, but also putting himself into the losers bracket. So let's start with the losers bracket and see who's the least popular Formula One driver. So the least popular so far: Fernando Alonso, Latifi, Stroll, and Ocon. And if you're an Alpine fan, you're probably a little bit upset by this, because the Alpine drivers both there in the bottom 4 of our drivers. And then we've got Latifi and Stroll as well, 2 pay drivers. So maybe that's sort of something I could come to fruition from this. You know, pay drivers, it does seem that they're a little bit more contentious than I personally thought, and maybe people have a little bit more of an opinion on that than I thought beforehand. But those guys there, of those 4, I asked you which was your least favourite. So Alonso managed to sort of sneak through. I know he's a controversial figure, but he did sneak through. He's not the least liked driver on the grid. It is his teammate Ocon. Ocon is having the worst season. He's just got that Alpine deal for another 3 years, and now he's just been told he is the least popular driver on the grid. That's really unfortunate for Ocon. I don't think he's done anything too wrong, really. I just don't think he's having a great season, and maybe that's being reflected in how people sort of are perceiving him at the moment. So Ocon is our least favourite driver as a community. And then we move into our winners bracket, and this is a winners bracket to behold. Vettel, Norris, Gasly, Sainz. I could not call this. And personally, I couldn't pick a favourite. You've got all 3 of my favourite drivers in there, and Vettel. And I absolutely love Vettel as well. I think he's an amazing driver. So I think what this has shown me is that my audience also likes the drivers that I like. or maybe we all just have a very similar personality and that's why you've been drawn to my channel, which I really do appreciate. I absolutely love all of you coming along for the journey and the ride. But it seems that all of us do like the same drivers: Lando Norris, Gasly and Sainz. And if Sainz was still at McLaren, I just wish. Maybe we could see Gasly at McLaren. That would be a dream. But out of these four, I decided not to vote on this final one. I decided to, fully let sort of people decide, fully let the people decide who was going to win. Personally, if I had to pick out of these, I might just edge it for Gasly for me. I know he's not a McLaren driver, but I think just his story in general, I really resonate with and really love him as a person. So let's have a look at how they did. It was Lando Norris that came out on top, 51% of the vote. And I was trying to think why this might be. And I think maybe it's because I did this poll on YouTube and forgot that, Lando Norris is a massive YouTube and Twitch personality. And of all the drivers on the grid, I think he has the closest connection with people who are using YouTube and Twitch and social media and that kind of aspect of Formula One. Then Vettel comes in second, our second favourite. Gasly comes in third, and Carlos Sainz is our fourth favourite driver on the grid. But do you agree with that? Who is your favourite driver? Leave a comment down below and see how close you were to being in the top four or even the bottom four of those drivers on the grid. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, I will be live for all of the racing over the course of the Silverstone weekend. Have a wonderful weekend if I don't see you, and I will see you next time.